Good morning. Welcome back to Half Hour of Power. Always beginning with the prayer. We don't begin with the word. We begin with prayer, Lord. Asking you to be our word, to actually erase the things that we thought we knew and that maybe are error in some way, Lord. Highlight those things so that we can see what your word says, that we be not blind, Lord. Prepare our feet with the gospel, the preparation, Lord, to share our testimony with someone else and the reason that we believe. We do ask also, Lord, that as we sit and meditate on this time, that the distractions of the world be at bay and our minds be consumed by your word. Let us just bask in your presence. May you go with us throughout the day. May it be your hands and feet, refurbish and refresh us, Lord, as we sup now. We thank you for these things. We worry not about the things that we cannot control, other people, the world's events, the things that we have no control over. We trust that these things have been sifted through your hand. And just like the disciples on the boat, Lord, they seen the storm. They were scared because it looked so relevant, and you're asleep in the bottom. But Lord, if you are asleep in our hearts, then we also rest that this is in the Father's hands, and we trust. And we thank you for these powerful things in your precious holy name. Amen. I did just want to touch up a little bit on the Sabbath that I rushed through yesterday, but I found something kind of curious after the fact, so I'm kind of glad that it happened this way. First, I'm going to read from Mark chapter 2. At the end of the chapter, here Jesus is presented by the Pharisees. He's just doing what he always does, and it just so happens to be the Sabbath day. So the Pharisees said to him, "Look what they do. It is not lawful on the Sabbath." That he went and got some of the grains. Have you not read what David did when he was hungry? I don't think we read this the other day. If we did, I'm sorry. But how he went to the house of God, and we even have that story. I felt like maybe I did read that because I felt like I went there. But it could just be because I was writing it down. Oh, we did for another study when David pretended madness. The priest gave him some of the food. How about that? The story's correlated. I love when that happens. But the priest gave him food, and Jesus said, the Sabbath was made for man, and not the man for Sabbath. Not for you to tend to this and be a heavenly hall monitor. Our pastor coined that, and I just love it. A heavenly hall monitor. Therefore, the Son of Man is Lord of the Sabbath. He continues. He entered the synagogue again, and a man who was there with a withered hand. So they watched him closely to see if he would heal on the Sabbath, so they might accuse him. Now, we have another story in 13 of the same verse 10. He was teaching in one of the synagogues, and behold, there was a woman who had the spirit of infirmity. For 18 years she was suffering, and was bent over and couldn't even raise herself up. And when Jesus saw her, he called her to him. Notice that we always have to come to him. He didn't go to her. He called her, just as he called me, just as he called Moses with the burning light. He saw Moses. He put that light there. You can look to the light, seek the light, come unto the light. But the light cannot help you until you make the first move, because God gives us free will. That would not be a very just God to make us do something we didn't want. He always asks for the free will. But here, do you suppose that these Galilee... Oh, I'm sorry. Got in the wrong story there. But when Jesus saw her, he called her to him. Woman, you are loosed from your infirmity. He healed her. So they are outraged about him healing on the Sabbath. This is what the Holy Spirit gave me after we read. Go back to Exodus 16 and beginning in verse 28. we'll go to 27. Now there it happened, some of the people went out on the seventh day, on the Sabbath day, after God had just told them, don't do it. Don't do it. They went out on the Sabbath day to gather, but there was none. The Lord said to Moses, how long do you refuse to keep my commandments? Notice that he went to Moses. He was the leader of the children. How long do you refuse my commandments and my laws? See, therefore, the Lord has given the Sabbath. Therefore, he gives you 6 days. And on the 7th day, gather enough for 2. Let every man, this is what caught me, remain in his place until the next day. Let every man not go out of his place. Don't even go outside. Who was the ones accusing Jesus Christ? Who was the ones watching to see if Jesus was going to sin on the Sabbath? They were outside of their home. I just found that so curious. We are so apt to point those fingers, but like a pastor told me when I was a young kid, my first pastor, got 3 more pointing right back at you. Never forgotten that. Although I still accuse, I don't point fingers, or I try not to, because there's 3 more pointing right back. But that finished up the Sabbath. And I think I mentioned it yesterday that Pastor said Sunday, just because the Lord reveals something to you, something personal to you, don't eat the meat, don't whatever. That's personal, and he's growing you, but you don't get to force that on everybody else. So that's kind of like what the Pharisees were doing. And verse 18 of chapter 31. I think we hit that too when he made the end of the speaking with Moses on Mount Sinai. He gave Moses the 2 tablets of testimony and the tablets of stone that he had written with the finger of God. Now, when Moses saw that, when the people saw that Moses had delayed from coming down from the mountain, the people gathered together to Aaron and said, come, let us make a god for ourselves. For this Moses man who brought us out of the land, who brought them out of the land? It was not Moses. The Lord used Moses, but the Lord said repeatedly, I am the Lord your God who brought you out of the land. We get it twisted like that too. We do not know what has come of him. So they got restless. Aaron said to them, break off your gold earrings, which are in the ears of your wives and your sons and your daughters, and bring them to me. So they did. Let's just sit here for a minute. The 2 tablets of testimony, where God wrote with his own finger and gave Moses these instruments. I caught this yesterday too. In chapter 25, when Moses first, chapter 24, God came to the mountain of Sinai, and the children said, please don't speak to us no more. Please speak to Moses and we'll listen to him. Okay? So God calls Moses up to the mountain. In verse 20, or chapter 25, verse 1, or verse 2, speak to the children of Israel that they may bring an offering. They may, if they're willing and desire in their hearts, want to bring me an offering. The first thing he says, gold. Gold, silver, and bronze. But the first thing out of his mouth was gold. Okay? From everyone willing with his heart, you should make my offering. He don't want your offering if you're, oh God, I even got enough to pay my bills this month, Lord. That's doubt and fear. He don't want it. Or, this is my obligation. That is not willing. and that's not joyful. And the Lord don't want it, and he don't bless it. But here we find Aaron, the first thing that he asked for, break off your gold. Satan listened to God and Moses' conversation. The power of the air is listening. The first thing that he put in Aaron's heart to ask for was the very thing that God had asked for. He does that to us too. He may give us a little tantalizing gift that's not of the Lord, but he hears our prayers and we don't test. Lord, is this of you? Is this from you? Is this what you have offered? Am I sidetracking any? Is there things that I'm not seeing behind it? Test the spirits. He tells us that. The darkness comes as an angel of light. He was the light bearer. So come together. Let us make a God for ourselves, because we don't know what happened to this Moses guy. Notice how quickly Aaron gave up on his brother. That was his brother. We don't know what happened to this man, Moses, this guy that brought us out of here. How quickly do we do that to our leaders? The pastor of my church, he said something offensive, and now I walk away. I'm not saying that happened to me. I'm just saying how quickly I got mad at my pastor before. I just shared this story yesterday. I was telling the ladies that I got mad about something that he said out of his mouth. Not the pastor currently, an old pastor. He don't know this. But anyway, I wanted to go write him a letter. And when I went home that Sunday and was sitting there Monday fixing to write the letter, the Lord said, have you prayed for him? And I hadn't. I cannot make anyone think any differently, whether it is written or not. I can only live it out, share my story, pray that the truth be what is the lasting. Just pray. We can't change other people, not even our own children once they're grown. So lay up the treasures of the Lord while you have them in their home. Open that book, whatever you do, crack it open to make it a habit so they remember these things when they get old. And I'm going to give you one more piece of sound advice for you young moms. When your children come to you with things that are stressful or that are burdensome and you really don't know what to do, or you know what to do and you're going to work it out, pray first. They see the example of, I'm not certain about this, but let's go before the Lord with it. That will give them so much later. They might not see it now, but they will remember. Prayer, fervent prayer of a righteous man avails much. And they got tired of waiting. I found that comical after the fact too. I was thinking how often I have done that. And the message Sunday, this past Sunday, last Sunday was Sabbath, and then we talked about the Sabbath. This past Sunday, it was about waiting. That is just too crazy. Here, Moses went up. The children were waiting. They got restless. They didn't go and seek God, how he had already told them to honor me and serve me. You're going to do this, and you be nice to each other, and you don't lie, cheat, and steal, or whatever. They got tired and restless. What are we going to do now, Moses? We do that with the Lord. What do you want me to do now, Lord? I'm bored. And boredom gets us in trouble. But we go to the Lord and not to Aaron. So Aaron had them break off their gold. Let's see. We want a king to go before us. So I'm getting a little ahead of myself. First, the waiting. Just 40 days ago, because they were only here 40 days. Moses went up on the mountain. So here 40 days later, they're restless and looking for another God. But gathered together to act corruptly. In Deuteronomy chapter 9. Deuteronomy 9, and we'll begin with verse 9. When I went up to the mountain to receive the 2 tablets of stone, the tablets of covenant which the Lord had made with you, and I stayed on the mountain for 40 days and 40 nights, I neither ate or drank. Then the Lord delivered me the 2 tablets of stone written with the finger of God on them, and all the words which the Lord had spoken on the mountain and from the midst of the fire in the day of the assembly, when he spoke to everyone, and y'all didn't want to hear, so he put me up on the mountaintop and gave me these words personally and wrote on the tablet so that we wouldn't forget. And it came to pass at the end of 40 days and 40 nights that the Lord gave me the 2 tablets of stone in the covenant, and the Lord said to me, Arise, go down quickly, for those people you brought up out of Egypt acted corruptly, and they have quickly turned aside from the way which I have commanded them. They have made themselves a golden image. Furthermore, the Lord spoke to me, saying, I've seen this people, and they are stiff-necked. Let me alone, that I may destroy them. Blot them out, and I'll give you a whole new kingdom. I believe that was the Lord's testing. Are we willing to forego someone the Lord has made in his image and put on my path because I'm angry? Because I don't think they're worthy? Because I don't think they can get right? God forbid. That is not my job, business, and not my playground. Yes, the Lord could have destroyed them, but I think he was testing Moses' heart. Are you going to put up with them and pray for them, son? Bear with them for the 40 years I have designed here? Are you going to be their leader? It's all a foreshadowing. But make us a god. That's what they said. Make us a god. The one that brought us up, took us from the oppression of the ruler. He's not good enough. When we saw the works in the hand, they saw his hand firsthand, and they saw his judgments. They were scared. They even saw him on a mountain, and we're scared. I hope that's not why we stay away. How often Satan, I have felt that before. I'm too far gone, Satan. No, I'm living in sin. Recognize the Lord will work things out. He always does. He will pick you up and move you, or he will move the things from you. He is God, and he is able. But he don't want you to give up on the plan that he has either. Just as Moses, I'm sure he got mad when he saw all that. God said, here, I'll just make you a whole new kingdom you want to, bro. Just me and you. I don't know what happened to this leader. No reverence for God or Moses. So, I just wrote here that this had to be a period in Israel's history, if not many, but this here is where the angels had to hang their head and just say, oh my goodness. But then I also thought about the church, how we got busy doing other work that God did not orchestrate us to do. I'm not talking about our mothers and fathers, but their mothers and fathers, our great-grands and their generations, when the war efforts. First of all, I don't think that war was of God. I don't know, that's here nor there. God executes and allows things, and so it's here nor there for my thought here. But how the church led the country. The church, the Protestant church started America. They were all Bible believe. I'm sorry. The story that I understood to be the forefathers were Christ believers, and this independence, the Declaration of Independence, God is laced throughout it. They wanted to protect this America, much like Jerusalem, that there be one God, that the people not be the God over the people, that God be the God over the people, but the biannual resetting of our clocks, I think that is still an atrocity, and it's horrible for children, much less for adults, to reset their biological clock twice a year. That's slavery. That's slavery. If no one allowed their children to go to school until the time of day that it was, every day on the clock, every day of the year, no matter the season or the time, and no one was allowed to leave their house on a certain day, you would rest. The stores wouldn't be open. So we have allowed just a little bit at a time, just as I think the Egyptians did. A little bit at a time, they had to bear the burden of the oppressor or be executed. I guess is the only two options. Am I willing to stand on this fate of I'm not going to work because I am at a time change of the way that it was last year at the same time and be murdered for that? So I don't know. Get carried away. But you see what I'm saying. I still think that was an offense to the people, to our brain. It's not good for the body, much less for our children. And we force them to do it twice a year. That's sad. And just as the Roman Empire didn't want to outrage because of Christianity or anything, they wanted to keep it suppressed and quiet and keep the law, the rule, copacetic. Nobody wanted any outrage. So certainly if the church would have rised up, the word there, but if they would have stood up and said, no, this is the time of day it is. The war is over. We don't need to preserve energy anymore, like conservation of energy was ever a concern of our government. So verse 2, Aaron told them to get their gold, which was just what the Lord was going to ask of them first. Satan was working overtime. Gold earrings. Remember in Exodus 11 when the Lord was getting ready to haul them out, the children would, in verse 2, 11:2, speak in the hearing of the people, and let every man ask his neighbor and every woman of her neighbor for articles of silver and gold. And the Lord gave people favor in the sight of the Egyptians. So they loaded them down when they left. So now they're taking that gold and going to make them an altar. And in verse 3, so the people broke off their gold earrings and that were in their ears and brought them to Aaron. And Aaron received, he was the priest. He received that gold from them out of their hand, and he fashioned it with an engraving tool and made a molded calf. This is your God, O Israel, that brought you up out of the land. I don't know where to stop here. We'll just see what we get through. Brought you up out of the land of Egypt. So when Aaron saw it, he built an altar before it. Remember back in Abraham when he won the battle against the 5 kings and got Lot back and situated, that he built an altar to the Lord. An altar was a honoring of the Lord. It was a place that you repented. You just fell apart at the Lord. Thank you, God. This is holy unto you. It is giving everything. So you sacrifice. They sacrifice to this golden altar. And make a proclamation. Aaron, I'm making a proclamation. Tomorrow is a feast to the Lord. And they rose up early in the morning and offered burnt offerings and peace offerings, and the people sat down to eat and drink, and they rose up to play. Business as usual. Ooh, ooh, Moses is gone. We got an altar to the Lord. A burnt offering to a golden calf. I can't imagine how I would feel if I'm trying to build this people a house and make a name for them, and they go and do exactly what they had learned their whole lives. That God had mercy. But think about that. They came from golden offer, worship of a golden calf, and the mentality. They didn't know God. Even though they saw his hand, they didn't know him personally like that. And that even it testifies to what Aaron had saw. He'd grown up in this too. Remember, Moses left when he was 40. He went and was worshiping the Lord. The Lord was pouring into him, but when he came back, that didn't mean everybody else was there. They were slaves to an oppressive government. So Aaron just did what he knew was right in his own eyes too. So give him grace there. But he did receive that from their hand. He had an opportunity to think, wow, God said to bring this to him. But our consciences are seared also by television and media, by the things we grow up in, by things we just refuse, or by ignorance, by not knowing the word. This is your God. Exodus 29, beginning with verse 45. We go to 44. I will consecrate the tabernacle and the altar. I will also consecrate Aaron and his sons to minister to me as priests, and I will dwell among the children and be their God. And they shall know that I am the Lord their God, who brought them out of the land of Egypt, that I may dwell among them. I am the Lord the God. Notice it was always about God dwelling among his people. That's what he wanted in the garden. That's why he was looking for Adam and Eve. Where are y'all? Come on, friends, where are you at, man? Aren't we kind of like that? Not kind of. I am like that. I want my friends around me. But how quickly we all forget the ordinances, except for the offense of others. Another's offense, we don't forget that. But easily we forget when we forgive another, or when we offend another. So Aaron builds the golden calf. I wrote here, what have I accepted as an altar, overlooking what God says about his likeness and images or statutes? You know, what have we overlooked? God says don't even make a likeness of any other thing, animal or person. Don't make a likeness to it. Angels, crosses. I've even wondered about pictures. It's of man's hands, and it is a likeness, and there's people who worship image. And I'm not even going to go there because I know I have pictures. I love pictures. They're beautiful. I can't imagine growing up in a world without them. But that is a likeness and an image of other stuff. And I can't help but to consider how me also easily gets distracted I think I kind of brought that up. What do we do now, Lord? I say, what do you want me to do with that? Satan will surely keep us busy. But Aaron makes a proclamation, and there's another warning of a king who made a proclamation in 2 Kings 10:20, and it was just making a proclamation, meaning he took his authority and made it to everybody. A gathering. God warns us about who we follow, whose voice we listen to, who you gather with. That's a good warning for a reason, because they may be leading to destruction or to hell. But after the feast of the Lord, may I say, so they rose up to this feast here to drink and play. And I was just saying, may that not be me. May I say, if it's not his way, or may we just pause and reflect, is this godly? Let us to not join the masses to go and do this because it sounds like a really good idea. It's laced with some good stuff and they sprinkle Jesus on top. Test the spirits. I think that was my ranting there. But eat, drink, and play. Numbers 25, and we'll close with this. Numbers 25 and verse 1 through 3. Now Israel remained in Achah Grove, and the people began to commit harlotry with the woman of Moab. They invited the people to sacrifice of their gods, and the people ate and bowed down to their gods. So Israel joined Baal of Peor, and the anger of the Lord was aroused against them. The Lord instructed them, when they come into this new land that I'm bringing you to, don't even look and see what they're doing, what they're eating, and what they're practicing, lest you get tempted to do the same. I feel we have done that. Other nations have brought in their ideas and things of what is good and their gods, and we just kind of nitpick what we want in America because we've gotten far from the truth. Remove this from our education, so everything that we learn is not sifted through this. So how much truth can there actually be? But Lord, thank you for this time now and for revealing to us how easily we get distracted, Lord. And let our hearts be pricked and plagued, Lord, that we are continuously shuffling through these thoughts of our mind and the things that our hearts get consumed with, the things we allow to consume us and think on. Lord, let them all be tested through your word and live according to it, so that we don't get caught up to eat and drink and play. That does not mean that you don't want us to eat and drink and play, Lord, but there's a time for everything. And Lord, I just ask that you keep us humble and kind, especially in this world that has gotten so far from you. Hate is an easy thing to pick up, or just disgust and disdain. You were disgusted with them, and you didn't give up on them, and I thank you for that. Thank you for the year 2026, that you still find people here honoring, praying to, and counting on you, that you preserve this generation, that we stay busy, Lord, snatching them from the fire until you come. May we be busy being fishers of men. We catch, you clean. Thank you. An awesome God. We praise your holy name. Amen. Toodaloo.